This video is dedicated to Neil Smothers. A big thank you, Neil. Kodama of the East Tree and Sakashima of 1,000 Faces versus Korvold King, Numa Joraga Chieftain, along with Nadier Agent of the Duskenel, and then Kenrith the Returned King. We've got an okay opening hand, let's keep that. Don't really have much of a reason to bin that one. Start things off with an exploration so that we can make an additional land on each of our turns, and we'll go for the Simic Growth Chamber and just keep it in play. We do have the other Guildless bounce land in here, plus we've got other means of returning lands to hand, such as the Storm Cauldron for instance. Just some lands for our opponents to start things off. I think we can go in for that Oracle of Muldiah that we just drew into here. And we've got a Swan Song on top, which isn't the best thing to let our opponents know about. Kalni Heart Expedition for the Kenrith player, being piloted by Gogo by the way, and Gogo tends to run group hug decks when he has Kenrith. I know he's built a new one, so that's probably what he's going for here. Valdrieg on the partners, the elf tribal partners, Numa and Nadier, or Nadier, don't know how you pronounce that one, and Polar Bear Soup on Korvold King. So, got 3 patrons today. Big thank you to them for helping me to make videos. Viscera Seer coming down to the right. Valdrieg has played Gaia Sage. Now we've got Crucible on top. I think we just go for the Cloudstone Curio. And we'll hold up the Swan Song that everyone already knows about. Numa, Joraga Chieftain coming in for the elf player, along with a Kurian Ranger. Sakura Tribe Elder for Korvold. And then the Viscera Seer swinging into Gogo. And there is our land that we wanted to see. I'd like to get into a fetch land for this Crucible. We've got 4 mana, so yeah, we have to go for the forest first. Don't want to take advantage of Cloudstone Curio just yet. So let's drop that Gaia's Cradle as well. And there is a Consecrated Sphinx, yep. If no one had their eyes on us before, I bet they do now. I think we're okay to go for Storm Cauldron here. And we'll try and give our opponents a headache. If they've got any removal, they'll want to point it at the Storm Cauldron. 2 lands coming down in one turn thanks to the Storm Cauldron, so there's enough there now to activate the Kalni Heart Expedition. But deciding not to play any spells into the Storm Cauldron because they don't want to bounce their lands, I imagine. But an Elves player might be more capable of going for tapping out into the Storm Cauldron. Null Mage, that is one way of getting rid of it, so we're just going to have to allow that, I think. At least they have to bounce their lands here. And that Gaia Sage continuing to evolve. I think they've got another land to make here, so they could throw out another forest. Hopefully they don't forget to do that. Then tapping their mana dork and going for Quirion Elves. So as usual with Elves, they can use their dorks to tap for mana. So they don't necessarily need a lot of lands in play. Not until a board wipe hits play anyhow. Sakura Tribe Elder being cracked over here before the end of the turn, and deciding to tap all 4 of their lands into Damping Engine. A player who controls more permanents than each other player can't play lands or cast artifacts, creatures or enchantment spells. That player may sacrifice a permanent to ignore this effect until the end of the turn. So basically punishing the person for having the most permanents of each permanent type. So Storm Cauldron is going to kind of hurt us with a Damping Engine in play. And the Viscera Seer going in at Gogo again. And managing to play another land, so remembering to do that, that's good. Now, I don't think... Oh, we can play one more land, I think. Oh no, apparently not, so we're tied for the most lands. There's obviously 5 here, and 5 here as well, so this cares if we're tied for the highest total as well. So in that case, is it worth just getting down the Crucible here? Let's tap the Simic Growth Chamber. And Storm Cauldron will bring it back to our hand. Oh, and okay, it's the total number of permanents with this, isn't it? Never seen Damping Engine before. Alright, well, my mistake, so there was no need to tap those lands then. We should have just passed the turn, but yeah, okay. So it's the total number of permanents that we need to look at here. Yeah, there's quite a lock on the board with both Storm Cauldron and Damping Engine. Hopefully one of them will go down to the Null Mage Shepherd. Go tapping a few lands to get rid of the Storm Cauldron with the Krosan Grip. I don't think they played their 2 lands there. Probably should have floated the mana, played the 2 lands so that they only go down 1. And also, Null Mage Shepherd was probably going to get rid of that, so at least it frees up the Null Mage Shepherd to go after this thing. Anyway, Colony Heart Expedition being cracked now, so they're not going to go down too many lands at least. Now, over Abundance, whenever a player taps a land for mana, they add 1 mana of any type that land produced, and it deals 1 damage to them, so this is what Gogo was talking about in the Discord. He has made a group hug deck that gives us an overabundance of mana, so we'll see if it helps all of us. It'll probably help the elf player more than anyone else. And yep, the Null Mage Shepherd going after the Damping Engine, and now it can be pointed at Cloudstone Curio as well. Wirewood Channeler now. Add X mana of any one colour, where X is the number of elves on the battlefield, so it will include our Oracle of Muldiah. I think we can allow that, because I've gotten rid of our blue mana by not knowing what the Damping Engine does. Then bouncing a land to Quirion Ranger to untap the Gaia Mana Dork, which taps down for 4. Now it's Immaculate Magistrate, which will be able to do big buffs on a creature. Not too sure. We're going to see a board wipe anytime soon, but we've no choice to allow it. The 2/4 comes in at us, and the 2/2 in at Polar Bear. So that'll be commander damage onto Polar Bear, 2 damage to us. And then the Null Mage Shepherd got rid of the overabundance, so the Elves player totally tapping out. They better hope that there's no Toxic Deluge here. A Necrogenesis I think we will allow. Okay, Nissa Vital Force on top is good. We can play all 3 of our lands. Wish I hadn't unnecessarily tapped those last turn, but we don't have a land on top anyway. Could have gone in for Consecrated Sphinx this turn though. So let's tap Aboro for mana, go for the Simic Growth Chamber, and we'll bounce the Aboro back to hand. Say no to Cloudstone Curio, still a little bit early for that thing. And we'll go Aboro, play that out again, play the Flooded Grove again. Maybe we should just go Sakashima, just for the sake of getting another land into play. So we now have 2 Oracle of Muldiahs. We'll say no to the Cloudstone Curio, play a Forest, and we'll say no there as well. Yeah, so if it wasn't for my error previously, probably should have had a Consecrated Sphinx in play at this point, but we can still hold up the Swan Song at least. I am worried about the amount of damage that's going to be dealt by the Elves player next turn. Now, Curse of the Swine goes on to some problem creatures over here. I think we allow our Sakashima to go down for this. Yeah, I think that's okay. Go playing this, by the way. Yeah, for the sake of giving the Elves player a hard time, I think it's worth losing our creature. Now, Fauna Shaman we will allow. Don't have much of a choice. Followed by Joraga Warcaller, which isn't multi-kicked unfortunately, but they can pile plus counters onto that with the Immaculate Magistrate. And that's exactly what they're doing, so 6 plus counters going on here will buff all the Elves. So they've now got an 8/8 commander. Val sending the 8/8 commander into Go-Go. And then the Quirion Ranger is a 7/7 going into the right. And I think the Boar is as well. They're doing something else now. Untapping a creature. Yeah, with the Quirion Ranger, they're able to untap the Magistrate, which buffs the Elves even more, I imagine. So yeah, another 6 plus counters. So that jumps up to a 13/13. That will be 14 points of commander damage over here. A 13/13 to the right. And the 2/2 is going to the left, not at Polar Bear Suit. So a very resilient Elves deck from Valdrieg apparently. Viscera Seer blocking the big creature. But like I said before, 1 board wipe pretty much takes Val out of the game at this point because they're flirting with the idea of not having any lands in play with the Quirion Ranger. Dread Return from the Jund player going on to Sakura Tribe Elder, so eager to keep making lands apparently. Certainly not going to use Swan Song on that. The good thing is, the longer the game goes, the more chance people have of forgetting about Swan Song. Our opponent should know about this. Okay, there's a land on top for us. I want to play Kodama with a surplus of mana available to us. We don't really care about landfall at the moment, so let's just play the lands straight off the top. And that's good that we get into a fetch for the Crucible of Worlds, so if we can keep that in play, then we should be able to make at least one land every turn. It's also a shuffle effect with the Oracle of Muldiah, because we might not like the lands that are on top. Playing a forest as well, and there is a Zusa, which goes very nicely with what we've got going on with Oracle, assuming that we can hit multiple lands. So let's go for Consecrated Sphinx here, I think. And then we've got 3 creatures in place, so we can go for the Gaia's Cradle, and that will be a Crucible of Worlds. And like I said, not going to shuffle at the moment, and we've run out of lands to make anyway, so that works out okay. We'll just concentrate on filling up our hand through the next turn or two, methinks. Just need to hope that the elves don't get trample. Unfortunately, at the beginning of Gogo's turn, Polar Bear Soup has disconnected. Must have been some kind of error at his end, and he hasn't managed to sort it out within, I think it's 4 minutes that you have to sort any issues out. We draw into both trade routes and the Azusa that was on top with the Consecrated Sphinx. Now have Tatyova on top as well. Zertar Ancient for Gogo. Whenever a player taps a land for mana, add 1 mana of any type that land produces. Luckily, the Elves player doesn't have all that many lands at the moment. Gogo does though, and immediately tapping down for 4 white mana. And that is Finale of Glory, making some soldier tokens. So if the Elves can't go off here, then it looks like it might be about between myself and Gogo. Drawing some more cards at the beginning of Val's turn, getting to Chord of Calling and the Tatyova. Ugin is on top now, so that's the board wipe that we need. Fauna Shaman searching for a creature. They have discarded a Bloom Tender in order to do that. Just looking over at the Discord on my other monitor now, and Polar Bear Soup lost internet connection, unfortunately. So there's nothing he could do about that. That's not anything that he has any control over. And Priest of Titania, no haste, thankfully. Oh, that would be a lot of mana. And thanks to seeing that Ugin on top, we might get a load of creatures turning sideways at us from Valdrieg. I'm not entirely certain that we can do a whole lot about that, to be honest. Maybe can do something with Chord of Calling, although we don't have enough green mana, do we? We might get taken out here. Bouncing another land, this time untapping the Fauna Shaman, 1 mana still floating, but deciding not to use that mana and going through to combat. Now let's see if Valdrieg wants to take us out here. Yep, going in sideways at us, so we have to block with everything, I think. And even then, I'm not sure if we survive. We certainly don't want to take commander damage. And then it's 20, 20, 21, and 20. So yeah, I think we're done here. So yeah, down we go to the elf player. So yeah, look at what elves can do with only 1 land in play. That is pretty impressive from Val. But Gogo has double mana over here. And that is a Gaze of Granite. Destroy each non-land permanent with CMC X or less. X is 4, so that is everything over here. They'll lose their tokens as well, but they will keep their mana doubler, so that pretty much seals the deal for Gogo, I imagine. Then following things up with a Shared Summons, and they went after Clever Impersonator and Springbloom Druid. Getting into the Springbloom Druid straight away, so they go up a land here. Then swinging the 7-5 over at Val. And I always say it, but it's always worth pointing out. Basic plains being mixed with snow-covered plains. Devoted Druid for Val. And there's still double mana over here, don't forget, getting into the first black land throughout the game, I think. Clever Impersonator coming down. So it's double mana now. Then going in for Kenrith, the Returned King. I imagine Gogo can outrace here. Dumping plus counters onto the Zertar Ancient. They can give haste to these 2 creatures here. No reason not to swing them in over here. But deciding to just pile a load of plus counters on 1 creature. Then playing another forest, and it's even more plus counters seemingly. I think it would be an idea to put some plus counters over here and give everything haste, so that you at least get some huge points of damage through, because at the moment this can just be chumped. Anyway, giving everything haste, as you would expect. And this is now a 15-3. There's a 1-1, a 7-5, and a 5-5 commander, knocking Val down to 3. And Val managing to get into his 6 mana commander still, along with Shaman of the Pack. All off of the back of the mana doubling group hug stuff, of course. But I imagine Gogo's got this because Val has to block. Going straight through to combat. So we'll see what happens here. Going straight through to combat. And they just go wide here, don't they? Yeah, so no matter how Val blocks, they go wide. So Gogo getting it over and done with very quickly, very respectfully. Big thank you to my opponents. That was a strange game. Polar Bear got into the stacks card, which messed me up a little bit. Took me off a turn. I don't know if having the Consecrated Sphinx in a turn earlier would have made a difference. It probably would have done, actually, because we would have gotten into that Ugin a turn sooner. And then I probably could have played it and wiped out the elves and stayed in the game. Would have gotten rid of some of my extra landfall cards, but yeah, I'm not sure if I would have done it in the end without knowing that the elves were going to go off. But anyway, that was a good one from both Gogo, Valdrieg, and of course Polar Bear Soup as well. Big thank you to them for playing today. I'm tribalkai on the EDH channel. Thank you for watching.